Welcome to the Wealth Project Podcast. Join us as we take the journey from employee to entrepreneur. Now your hosts, Sergio Suarez and Marcos Suarez.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Wealth Project Podcast. Sergio here alongside my co-host, Marco. What's up, Marco?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What a great episode we have for you today.
Yeah, today's a little bit different. It's a different episode. Our guest today is just getting started on his online business, and in a short time has been absolutely crushing it.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you guys Troy. Troy has worked 9 to 5 in the sign industry for close to 20 years, fabricating and installing commercial signage. He later started his own sign company here in Edmonton last year called Infinity Signs. Troy later ran into some financial issues, and on top of it all, he injured his Achilles tendon in September of 2018, which has since limited his ability to do much.
Troy has some previous experience with an online business as an Amazon affiliate, but has since discontinued this business path. Troy has recently started his MLM business by joining our team on CTFO. After seeing firsthand the drive, energy, and positivity Troy displayed, we knew we had to have him on our podcast.
All right, I'd like to start by saying thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, Troy. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, thanks.
Awesome. Serge, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Just excited to be finally recording some episodes and getting rolling with our podcast here. So, we have some amazing guests coming up. We have, Troy on here. We're really excited to talk to you about business and all that. And so I'm ready to roll. So I guess let's dive right into the interview here. Troy, we gave you a brief introduction at the start of this podcast, but if we missed anything, and just in case we missed anything, why don't you tell us a little more about yourself?
Okay, well, I'm a sign guy. I've been in the sign industry for about 20 years now. That's fabricating and installing commercial signage. I'm a kind of guy, I'm a problem solver. I like mechanics and fixing and repairing stuff, building old computers out of spare parts with my spare time. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I actually used to love doing that. I don't do that anymore, but I used to, tinker. I used to be a big tinkerer myself.
Yeah. It's something that keeps your mind occupied.
Right. You said that, so you said you'd had some previous experience with e-commerce in the past. What brought you over to MLM?
Well, MLM, like I said, I think I told you before, I had tried this with a different outfit, and it didn't go really all that well. So it didn't really give me a very good or a very bad experience. But I really don't have anything against MLM. This is a new experience for me, that's for sure.
So you've had previous experience with MLM, another MLM?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And then I guess in chatting with you, you've also had experience with the Amazon platform as well, right?
That's right. Yeah, that was the not so good experience.
Oh, okay. And that's something I looked into in the past before. I never got started, but it was definitely one of the paths I was definitely interested in. So I don't know, I might have to chat with you before I do that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Troy, we talked about this a little bit with in one of our previous interviews, but what is your personal favorite thing about MLM and network marketing?
I'd have to say the thing I like the most about it is the teams that you can build. The sheer number of people that you can get to work together towards one single objective. I think that's awesome.
I'd have to agree. And we spoke about this in previous episodes with Kim and the one that we did with on MLM network marketing. It's like a family, and we really strive to help each other. It's nothing. I've never seen it like this, like a system like this before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's one of those things that we keep touching on it with MLM that because it's a business, everyone thinks there's somebody that's at the top. But with MLM, it's not like that. Everybody wants each other to succeed, and that's where that family aspect comes in. And I just think it's fantastic.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's you all work together and you're going in the same direction, and there really isn't a top because you're all going for the same goal. I think that's what I like the most about it.
Yeah, and we're all, and then we mentioned, again, we keep saying we mentioned in the past, but like even especially with CTFO's compensation plan, the way they structured it, even your upline benefits you. You know what I mean? You can get
Yeah,
people underneath you
that's
from your
brilliant.
upline. It's actually, yeah, it is. It's brilliant, and it's something I've never seen in any other company before.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess with literally, talking about CTFO, with literally thousands of different MLM opportunities out there, different companies, even just in the CBD industry, there's tons of companies. What brought you to CTFO?
Well, like I said, I've seen these kind of things before online. Like they're literally everywhere, these opportunities and these multi-level marketing businesses. But everyone that I've checked out up until very recently had a huge, huge startup cost or recurring monthly fees. And not a lot of people can shell that amount out right off the hop.
Right.
And then on top of it, they also had a pay now, answers later kind of mentality, and that doesn't sit right with me. When it came to CTFO, everything was transparent and right up front. They told you exactly what you needed, and I jumped on it absolutely 110%.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, I mentioned this in the past, but me and Marco was actually originally started with a different company when we got into CBD, and you're right. It had they expected you to buy quite a bit of product. I mean, it was still free to sign up, but with CTFO you buy is whatever you buy whatever you can afford. You just buy a product, right? And you get full
Exactly.
you get full benefits of their compensation plan. But with this other business we were part of, they had different levels. And so, if you weren't spending as much as others, you didn't benefit from their compensation plan as much as others, and I really didn't like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with the way we're set up with CTFO, associates can join and they can earn right away. Like they don't have to make a purchase.
Absolutely.
That's exciting. That's a lot of people are like, so what do I got to do? What's the catch? Blah blah blah. There really isn't one at all.
Right.
I like to think of it as you're constantly learning. Like my days are filled sun up to sundown. I'm always learning, looking for new ways to look at things. And if you don't, if you're not in it to learn, then I don't see a point really. Like if you're in it for to get rich quick, then that's not what this is.
No, and MLM is not for you. It definitely MLM is it takes time. It takes time to develop. And I mean, some people get lucky. They grow quite quickly or whatever. But if you're starting from scratch, I mean, with business in general, I find that if the lower you exchange money for time. So the lower the startup costs, the more time it's going to take to build your business, right? So,
Right.
and that's totally the case with MLM and with CTFO. I mean, yes, it's free to join, but it's not, like you said, it's not a get rich quick business, right? Right off the
Yeah.
bat. So you got to develop that following, that social media presence and all that. So
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's something that you nailed on the head too, that we haven't discussed in previous episodes. But when we talk about business, we always talk about creating values for others. But you touched on you create value for yourself, and that's what drives you to continue your business. So I that's something I haven't heard before, and I really like the way you put that.
yeah. I mean, Kim might have touched a little bit about it on last episode, but one thing that I mentioned is, one of my favorite sayings is, the first investment you make in business is in yourself. And
That's
I
exactly
absolutely
right.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Troy, MLM, I've asked this to Kim as well, but I wanted to hear your take on it. MLM has always sort of had this negative stigma about it. A lot of people always claim it's a scam or doesn't work. Have you ever had any doubts or hesitations about it yourself, especially having that background in MLM?
Of course I have. Um, there is a lot of bad stigma about MLM, and there's a lot of bad media and people being angry and stuff. And I think what it all boils down to is they're afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
They're too comfortable where they are, be it a rut or whatnot, that they don't want to take the chance. They don't want to take the chance to lose.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of people make the biggest mistakes of their lives is they're not willing to take a chance. That's awful, but that's the harsh reality of it.
Yeah, a sad truth, unfortunately. But you kind of mentioned those were some of the hesitations. Is that something that you faced, and how did you, like, what changed your mind about it?
What changed my mind was basically the business plan, the transparency of CTFO. Everything was right there, put in front of me. the sign up for free and get the training and all that. That was a huge bonus. You can't get that without a huge startup cost in other places. There was no hesitations for me as far as I was concerned because I kind of like the idea of how MLM works.
Yeah, and you're one of the few that actually understand what the beauty of MLM. I mean, me and Marco are one of them, and I said this before, and I was total skeptic before getting into our previous company and then moving into CTFO. I was kind of like, I was the same way. I was like, ooh, MLM, and that's because I've sat in other type MLM pitches at people's houses, and they're trying to get you to, cough up money right up front and all this kind of stuff, right? So that's where a lot of that negative stigma comes from, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and I've totally changed my mind. I mean, I absolutely think it's a brilliant business structure. We've mentioned a lot of some really big companies in our first, actually our episode 2, that are MLM structures. Companies like Amway, Prime America, one of the oldest ones, Tupperware. I mean, Tupperware has been around since the 50s. It's one of the biggest, oldest MLMs out there, right? So there's a lot of respectful companies out there that have this business structure and do really well.
And it works. There's still people that are 50 years in. Like there's proof right there that the system does work.
Exactly. And these companies are making billions. I mean,
yeah.
I think what was it? Prime America or Amway was like 8.6 billion last year.
Oh my Lord, that's a lot of money.
It's huge.
Unreal. Imagine having a slice of that pie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Continuing on here, what are some roadblocks that you have run into in your MLM business so far?
Roadblocks. I gotta say that the only roadblocks I've ever hit were the ones I created for myself. Worrying a lot at the start, overthinking things, not sleeping. I usually give her from 7 till well after midnight every day. Just stuff like that. I hit the ground running 110 mile an hour every day. So the only roadblocks I hit were just me. That's it.
Yeah, and you know what? That's why we wanted to chat with you, because me and Marco truly believe we see that effort you put into this every day, and it's amazing how much positivity you have and how much drive you have for this. So that's one of the reasons we said, man, we got to get this guy on our show. We got to give chat with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've secretly donned you in the back of my mind as the mindset master. I mean, I see the stuff you post all the time, and you always are so fired up, and it just fires me right up, and it's just this domino effect. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things. Like I spend my days when I'm not walking new members through and stuff, but I spend my days everywhere. The mindset exercises, how to think positive and get rid of negativity, and how to help people through when they're in there. And it's as long as you're always learning, then there's not much room for anything else.
So and we've seen. I mean, you get pretty creative with you're creating new images for social media, and you're creating all this cool really cool stuff for for social media, and it seems to be working really well for you.
It's working. I experiment multiple times a day. Like I'll change one ad 7 to 10 times every day. Some days it works, some days it doesn't, but you never know unless you try, right? As with anything.
Yeah. Right.
So what are some of the methods that you've been using to promote your business, and which ones do you find are getting you the most results?
Well, I'm using local classifieds, Kijiji here in Edmonton. I found a way to sneak around one of their rules, and I actually got 2 ads going. So that's kind of I'm pretty happy.
Oh, interesting.
About that. My Facebook page, I never really used Facebook for people, just my buy and sell interactions and stuff. But one of the things that's really working is I talk to a lot of people every day, and it's a really direct approach, and I just listen to what they have to say. Oftentimes, I don't even have to say much. They want to be able to tell their story, and they need to be heard.
How do you find these people?
There's a lot of them are skeptical, but a lot of them are hopeful and curious. So it's kind of 50-50.
So are they on Facebook or Instagram or just like on your Kijiji ads, or how do you get them?
Well, I get people primarily from my Kijiji ads.
Okay,
People will either respond or they'll pick up the phone and call me.
right. And me and Marco have done that in the past. We've tried the Kijiji ad thing, and it's actually worked for us. We don't do it anymore, but when we did do it, it did seem to work okay for the time being.
Yeah, it's I'm finding it really useful, and like I think it's just an awesome platform because they do give you one free opportunity to get yourself some attention when you're pushing a product, right?
Right. Right. We always chat. We always talk about providing value on your social media. If you provide value on your social media, people gravitate towards you, and if you show that drive and you show that will and that for your product, and that love for your product, people just instantly gravitate to you and ask you, how, like, they start asking you questions and what do you do, or ask you more about your product.
That's exactly right. Excitement is very contagious, just like laughter.
That's
if you're
right.
excited, get fired up about something, 10 to 1, they're going to be just as excited and they're going to want a part of it. That's probably 80% of the people I deal with.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
So I guess we touched on this a little bit, but one thing we realized when we started our online business is that mentality has a lot to do with your results. So what kind of mentality do you have that keeps you going? I mean, like you said, you've touched on it a little bit, but can you elaborate?
Well, I've always been pretty social. Talking to people comes pretty easy to me. People call it thinking outside of the box. I guess I'm always just learning and searching for a more effective way to do things. I wake up each and every day, say out loud, today's going to be an amazing day. What a beautiful day. Take the time to listen to the birds when I have my coffee with them brainstorming. That's about it. I see my results as not all that exciting, but I'm one of those guys that want everything right now. So
I'm the same way.
Basically, I'm working on changing my mindsets and learning every day how to see what I do and how I look at things differently, and do the level of best that I can to reflect that to those that approach me every day.
And that's one thing I think that not a lot of people understand, is that if you can start the first 5 minutes of your day off with a positive thought, the rest of your day is just going to follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really sets the tone.
It's a good way to do it. I wasn't always like that, but even before CTFO, I've been starting my day like that. Today's going to be an awesome day. And 10 to 1, it generally turns out really well. You start your day off on the right foot.
Yeah, your mind is funny that way. I mean, just by starting off with, maybe even a little gratitude and a positivity, like you said, it really sets the tone for your whole day, and you're just in a better mood. You're just in everything just seems to happen. It comes together for you.
Well, I mean, if you get out of bed, trip over your socks, spill your coffee on your DVD player, knock your TV over, you're going to have a really bad day before you even reach the washroom, right?
That's right.
Yeah, fair enough. So you mentioned a little bit, like, didn't always have that mindset. So, there's obviously some negative mentality out there that some people might have. How did you overcome it? And like, what kind of exercises or stuff like that are you doing?
Just that. Trying to change my mindset. That's it. To see the positive in everything hasn't always been easy for me because I'm a bullheaded Taurus and a bit of a bonehead about certain things. So, it's a work in progress. It really is, to truly be positive and to change your thinking.
I think it's something we can all relate to.
So I guess that being said, is there anything you can give our listeners, some advice on how you can stay positive throughout the day? I know obviously, and if I'm like you, Troy, if things don't happen right away and I don't see results, I kind of get into like a negative mentality and negative mindset. How do you stay out of that negative mindset?
Honestly, I search for things that speak to my heart. When things slow down, as they often do during this transition with our new system, I find myself in a lull. So I'll just turn the page and I'll go towards positive thinking videos. Or for me, just going into our system and reading the testimonials is enough. Just something to bring you back to center. I think that's really important. Just seeing how these incredible stories from the people these products have helped. It's absolutely amazing.
So it truly just comes back down to always trying to look for the positives, not ignore the negatives, but don't focus on them.
Exactly. Yes.
And I love that you said that, just going back, into our groups and reading the testimonials and just kind of chatting with everybody, because that energy really is there. That energy is in our Facebook groups for our business, and you just even chatting with people, you could sometimes that energy is contagious, right? So just having a talk with somebody might change that mentality for you.
Right. Well, the one thing too is everybody's a little high strung right now because of the new transition.
Right.
But the one thing that you have to remember is that all great things had a really rough start. Look
Yep.
at Disneyland, stuff like that, right? But just always remember that we're all in this together and we're all moving in the same direction. And there's no shortage of people that have a story and a solution for negative thinking. This is such a positive team. It's absolutely incredible.
It really is. And one thing we mentioned in the past, I mean, sometimes, when you're in this business, you're a team leader. You lead a team.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to be that leader, and you have to stay positive and just, calm people down, or just, reassure them that everything's going to be okay. And it makes people feel better.
I've been doing a lot of that each and every day since some of our major systems have been a little slow getting up and going. But yeah, I always reassure my team that I'm always there. And the post notification section in one of I think it's a page. There's always somebody there that's looking for a little bit of advice, or like I try to offer a way to look at it from a different perspective. And most times it helps. Even I am there sometimes asking for the same things, and it's always there.
Touching on what you said a little bit earlier, you get on these down slumps, and you need to be a leader, and you need to always stay positive because people are going to follow suit. And I think I forgot what book it's from, but there was an author that once said, "You are the product of the 5 people you hang out the most with," and it shows. But when you're a leader and you start hanging out with that team, that positivity is just going to spread throughout. And I think that's something that's just crazy, the way our minds are programmed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So I guess that was kind of a gateway into my next question. Are there any mentors or any books that you would recommend for our listeners to help them with their wealth project?
Well, not books per se, but with my search for the positivity, I came across one very powerful video. It's by Denzel Washington on changing your thinking. That one is absolutely powerful. And there's another person called Sadhguru. He's of Eastern descent, and I actually have him playing most of the day because his teachings speak volumes, and it's in a way that everyone can relate to. Like, he's just absolutely amazing.
Right on. I'll have to check him out.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I'll write that one down. So we kind of like to do a bonus question here with our interviews. What is one phrase or quote that has helped you in your journey to success?
The one phrase or quote, it might sound funny, but John Cena, that WWE wrestler?
Yep.
Yeah.
He has a short phrase called "Never Give Up." It's
Yeah.
a short and simple one, and I've seen so many fan outpourings and sick children that are in the hospital. They're fighting terrible diseases. They all got together with them, and it was a gathering to say how much that one phrase meant to them. How it helped them to fight through it, and it broke me down. I started crying, and it's just what a powerful message. So I try to say that to everybody that I can. Whenever it gets hard, just never give up. I'll say that to as many people as I can.
It is such a short phrase, but I understand the value of what you mean. I'm probably going to mention this every episode, but it's crazy how many people always quit right before they're about to succeed. And it doesn't matter if that's in business or, like you said, these poor children dealing with cancer. It's always great to have that positive mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's something we brought up again, Marco. You said, yeah, we brought that up in other podcasts, and it's true. It is pretty sad that people give up right before they're there. One thing I like about that, never give up, and I'm going to look at it from a business perspective, and there's it's one word that I found a lot in MLM, and that's consistency. Or two words, yes. I guess, stay consistent, right?
Yeah.
Every day, do it. I mean, you might not be getting the results up front, but if you can stay consistent every single day, I promise you're going to get results.
Yeah, and your team sees that too. Like if you're always there with them, then they see that, and you become one of their strong parts on this whole thing.
Exactly.
It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
Right on. Well, I guess that pretty much wraps up our interview with you, Troy. And I just got to say that it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciate you coming on our show and chatting with us.
Thank you guys so much. It's truly been an honor.
Thank you again, Troy. Master of the mindset, as I said. Really appreciate you having you on our podcast.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
You too.
Well, that's it for our interview with Troy Clark. What an amazing interview, wouldn't you say, Marco?
Definitely. What an amazing interview it was indeed. Troy just radiates what it means to be a leader, as I'm sure you all saw in this interview. His positivity and mindset are contagious, and I hope you all gained some value from listening to him.
Absolutely, and I did too. And just to further prove his selflessness and generosity, we asked Troy if he would like us to give him a shout out or his business a shout out, and he replied simply by saying he really appreciates the hard work Michael Swilling does for the CTFO Legacy team and keeping the Legacy team informed and updated. And he also would like to give Kim Wilkinson and the Empowered Life family a shout out for being amazing and supportive.
If you guys are loving our content and enjoy our podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, whatever platform you listen to us on. As always, we'll give you a shout out in one of our future episodes.
We're always looking for suggestions for future episode topics and new guests to join our show. So if that's something that interests you, go to thewealthprojectpodcast.com/contact or find us on Facebook and Instagram under The Wealth Project Podcast and leave us a suggestion or just to say hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you on our next episode. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Project Podcast. Visit our website at thewealthprojectpodcast.com. See you next episode.